Welcome to the Jayne Avery Show on Lyme Bay Radio, where my guests and I explore all things well-being. This week's topic is around communication and finding your voice, specifically in relation to bullying. Most of us have experienced bullying at some time in our lives. If not personally, we've witnessed it being meted out to others. Did you speak up if it was you being bullied? Did you speak up on behalf of the person you saw being bullied? It's not always easy to find your voice in these situations. And this is why I'm so pleased to welcome my guest this week, Shirley Harkness, author of the children's book, Danny and the Furry Four, and the Magical Power of Chat. The story is aimed at helping children find their voice if they're being bullied or see it happening to someone else. So hello, Shirley, and welcome to the show.
Well, Jane, and thank you for having me.
No, it's really good to see you. Well, tell us a little about yourself and what led you to write Danny and the Furry Four, specifically the magical power of chat.
I never really anticipated writing a children's book till a couple of years ago, but well, I'll tell you a bit about myself. I started to build a house a couple of years ago, so I have recently moved back over to Fife in Scotland, as you will gather by the accent, which is around 20 minutes from Edinburgh. So I live here with my 5 dogs and parrot and my partner. So it was really nice to complete the house, but it was quite an arduous task during COVID and what have you.
I bet it was.
But, it was hard going. Still got the garage to finish, but we're almost there now. So prior to all this, I used to be a caseworker for a member of the Scottish Parliament, and sadly lost my job after the elections and started applying for other jobs that I knew I could do standing on my head. But unfortunately, wasn't getting anywhere with interviews or anything. So it was pointed out to me it might have something to do with the fact that I didn't have a formal qualification apart from what I left school with, meaning a degree. So I thought, with that in my mind, I thought I shall go and enrol in the Open University. So I did, enrolled in the Open University, and I am part of the way through doing a psychology with counselling degree. Haven't finished it, but I will finish it, Jane. It's not in my nature to give up. But life got in the way with building the house, looking after my mum, and just various other things.
Yeah.
But I think I really missed the kind of process of writing and such like. But whilst I was doing a specific module called The Science of the Mind during the degree, I was really inspired to write about bullying, children's bullying in particular. I mean, it's something that's talked about all the time in the media. And I really think I just missed writing and that idea, and just had the idea that I wanted to write a children's book specifically about bullying, and I wanted to have dogs involved. So basically, I wrote the book because I wanted to give people a voice.
Yes, because I remember you saying once when we were talking before that one of the things you found when you were a caseworker that was people just didn't seem to have a voice generally, and that was their big complaint really, and that's why the book is so good for helping people to find a voice. So in your book, Danny is the main character, and he has got 4 dogs. Now, there is something very special about his dogs. What is that, and why did you decide to include that aspect in the book?
Well, there is something very special about his dog, and the something very special is the fact that they talk. So quite unusual.
Yes.
Very unique. And I think, Jane, it was just born out of the fact that when I was young, we've had this conversation, I wanted to be a teacher, and I would line up my teddy bears and, I spoke to them. They didn't answer back, sadly. And throughout your life, I mean, I'm a total animal lover, and I've just all my adult life, I've had my own dogs. And, you talk any pet lover out there, or dog owner or cat owner, let's be honest, we all talk to
we do. Oh, definitely.
And I just thought, how amazing would it be if I could make the dogs talk and speak to Danny? So basically that's it, Jane. That's,
well, and it was lovely. And when I was reading the book, I just thought it was such a lovely thing to be able to do. I'd love to be able to talk to my Harvey. So
bless.
Now, each of the dogs has their own character based on your dogs. What are their names and their personalities?
Well, in the first book, there's the 4 dogs. I have 5 dogs, but the Furry Four, the 5th dog comes into the 3rd book. But I'll tell you about the 4 dogs that are in The Magical Power of Chat. Jimmy, who's a Cocker Spaniel, and he, true to life, has a really cheeky personality in the book. I mean, he makes the girls quite mad at times with some of the rude things that he comes out with, but that's just Jimmy. Maggie is, she's a poodle pointer, and she's quite scatty, a wee bit aloof, with a bit of a nervous disposition, but I mean, a lovely character. And I mean, Jimmy plays on this as well. You know, he brings out her nervous side. And then I've got Jean, who is an Australian Labradoodle. She's the youngest, actually, Jane. She's very young, and she is very prim and proper, and kind of likes to put Jimmy back in his place. And you know, she just likes everything to be so. And Louie, who's a Newfoundland, a big gentle giant, a big cuddly girl, who is like the wise old owl of the pack. And she's just, they're all amazing, and they've all got their unique characters. That's it.
It's lovely. So in the book, Danny has his friend Johnny, who he thinks is being bullied, and you use Louis, the big cuddly wise one, to help coax Johnny into confiding in Danny. I mean, how do you go about that?
I do, Jane, and I think it becomes, when Danny comes home from school one day, he's really concerned about Johnny. And of course, the first thing he does after he gives his mum a hug is runs up the stairs so he can have his wee meeting with the dogs. And he's speaking to them in his bedroom. And Louis sort of comes out with the fact that he reminds his brother that they're going to a family outing at the weekend. And he suggests it might be a good idea to bring Johnny along. And, you know, in a relaxed atmosphere, it'd be a good chance to get him to maybe open up a wee bit. And the first meeting doesn't go when Johnny finally finds out that Louis talks and Jimmy talks. It's quite frightening, quite a lot to take in, as you can imagine. And, but then it starts the ball rolling for another subsequent meeting where the conversation between Louis and Johnny unfolds, and he does open up. So it's that's how it happens. Just basically Louis making a suggestion, like brothers talking, brothers and sisters talking.
Yes, lovely. Yeah. So now, why do you think it is that, you know, Johnny was keeping it all to himself? He wasn't telling anybody, even his friend Danny. Why do you think so many victims of bullying don't speak out?
Oh, Jane, we've had this conversation too. I think there is a whole host of reasons. And in Johnny's case, a bit of his family background is his mum and dad had a young baby. They were busy. He didn't want to bother them. And I think he thought the problem would go away, as most people do that are being bullied, Jane. They hope it'll go away if they just ignore it or try and keep a low profile. Maybe it'll just stop happening. But I think there's loads of reasons, Jane. I mean, perception, embarrassment, the feeling of isolation, you know, the outcome of what's going to happen if you stand up to a bully. I think there is a whole host of reasons, and that's really what I was trying to bring out in the book, is that the sooner you talk about something, the quicker you can deal with it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So do you think it's important for us as parents and teachers to find a way to help victims speak up? And have you got any ideas how we can do this?
Well, Jane, I think that children should all feel safe and secure in whatever environment they're in. And I think we have a duty. I mean, there really needs to be a zero tolerance bullying way of thinking across every school and certainly every environment. And I think we've got to focus on changing that. And again, I keep coming back to the one word, communication. And I think the more people talk, and using books as a vehicle as well, Jane, to discuss or open up discussion with children can only help the issue. I think we've all got a responsibility. I mean, bullying comes in all shapes and forms, and it's not always easily recognisable.
Absolutely,
so learning to recognise signs as well, Jane, and teaching that is very, very important.
It is, yeah, thanks. So your story taps beautifully into children's love of adventure and intrigue. We all love a bit of that. if it isn't giving too much away, would you tell us how they hatch a plan to catch the boy that's bullying Johnny?
Yes, all I'll say, Jane, is the plans are usually hatched in Danny's bedroom with the two boys, Danny and Johnny, and the 4 dogs. And all I'll say is it involves some rather large recycling bins and a mobile phone. How about that? Cliffhanger.
Yes. Well, I've already...
And a lot of courage, and a lot of courage as well on the boys' part.
Of course, yes. Well, I've read the book, but I mean, it's an intriguing little plot that they hatch.
Thank you.
I like the way you've given the bully a voice as well as the victim. Do tell us why and how you managed this in the story.
Well, obviously, I wanted Johnny to find his voice, and using the dogs as a vehicle to help coax this out of him. When he finally found the courage to do this and he stood up to Barry, I think it paved the way to open up the fact that Barry was having personal problems as well, and we find this out obviously towards the end of the book. And I think that was the driving force behind it, was just getting Barry to also realise why he was using this sort of bullying as a control, actually, because he was lacking something in his home life. So really, Johnny finding his voice helped Barry in the long term.
Yeah. No, I agree. When I was teaching, I very much came to the conclusion that people don't bully just out of the blue. There's usually a reason behind it.
I agree.
So do you think that bullies are born?
Jane, I really don't, actually. I think probably the best way to put it is bullies are raised. And again, it could be down to having strained parental relationships, or maybe a lack of discipline, but I don't believe bullies are born. That's my own personal feeling. I think it is, it's bullies are raised. That's the way I would put it.
I tend to agree with you. And I think as well that without realising it, many of us actually have been party to bullying without even having realised it. I know I won't go into it now, but I know as a child, looking back, I'd love to find the person that I had watched being bullied and did nothing about it. It's only as you grow up and realise what was going on. And that's why it's so important now, I think, for us to make children aware of how easy it is to bully. Because as you were saying, it's the perception, isn't it, from the other side?
Absolutely. And as you get older, Jane, you learn more about the bystander effect and how people think, oh, it's not too bad, or that'll pass. But I think earlier things are taught in school so people can recognise, oh, that is a form of bullying, and maybe I should do something. I agree. I totally agree. I think with everything you've said, totally.
Yeah. So what age range is your book aimed at? And can children read it by themselves?
I would say, depending on the reading ability, yes, Jane, but I would think, maybe the younger ones, their parents would want to read it to them. But I think ages maybe 5 to 12. But certainly, I've had parents say that they've enjoyed reading it. And I had one of my neighbours had actually read it, and he says, I really enjoyed it. And I would say children age 5 to 12. And I suppose depending on what their reading ability is, their parents could share it with them.
Yeah, so do you envisage parents and teachers reading the book to children? And would you suggest that how would you suggest they use it to help them?
Oh, Jane, I really, yes. And I know that has happened. I've been told that's happened from one school in particular. And I really hope I can get the book out to a lot more schools and parents in turn, because I think I want it to help everybody form better relationships and understand more about bullying and start the ball rolling to another conversation about it. So I really want it to get out to as many schools, which isn't easy, but I'm working on it, Jane.
Yes.
I'm doing my
hardest. Now, what sort of feedback have you had from schools so far?
Well, I did a schools open sort of conference type thing with all the different classrooms. It was a school's assembly, sorry. And it was great. And a lot of the teachers had been reading it with their classes. And I like what I'm doing here. I spoke a little bit about myself. I did a little reading from the book. And then the children all asked questions. So the questions varied. They spoke about writing, things in the book. And it was great because you can take so many different things from the book, Jane. And
yes.
So the feedback I've had, albeit limited at the moment, has been really good. Actually.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So I know that Danny and the Furry Four and the Magical Power of Chat is the first book in a series. Can you tell us a little about the rest?
Yeah, the second book's actually out now, Jane, and that is called, they're all Danny and the Furry Four. The second book's called The Aliens in the Wheelie Bin, where there's a new boy comes into the book. I won't give the game away about who he is. But he comes to the village after some trouble, and basically they go on a mission with the Furry Four, Jane, because you couldn't do it without them.
No.
Free the village of these pie-eating aliens that are stealing people and doing naughty things. So it's very much a kind of mission to save the village. And then the other one, my third book, is actually, hopefully that will be out later in the year, is Danny and the Furry Four, Uncle Albert, You Are an Evil Genius. And again, the boys go on a mission because all I'll say is there is a very dodgy caretaker at the school.
Oh.
And he has a very dodgy friend, and they're trying to free the school of funds. So the boys and the dogs try to help solve this, but with the help of with Danny's very clever Uncle Albert. So that's why Uncle Albert is an evil genius. And there's a twist in the story about, it's funny, going back to something you said earlier, how you would like to go back to that moment in your childhood when you could help that person that was getting bullied. There's a moment for Uncle Albert, an aha moment, where something happened to him with this not so nice caretaker, and boy, Jane, does he get his moment. So all I can say is Uncle Albert shines.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, lovely, because I know you've sent me, is it that one you've sent me to read?
That's the one.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
You'll see that soon.
So what are your future writing plans? Are you staying with children's fiction?
Well, I would have to say yes, Jane. I wrote book 4, and that is going to be in 2 parts actually. So I've started book 5 in the Danny series. So yes, however, I would also like to write a non-fiction book to do with childhood addiction. Again, going back to my studying, I got very interested in addiction, and obviously a lot of it starts very young, and I'm really interested in it, Jane.
Yeah.
So I want to do more research, and I would like to write a book about childhood addiction.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk to you about that sometime as well.
That's great, I would love that.
Yeah, so would I. So where can we get a copy of your book?
Various outlets, Jane. I'm going to probably forget a lot of them, but the main ones for me would be Amazon. You can get it on Waterstone's websites. My publishers, which are Pegasus, you can get it on their website, and Brown's Books. But there will be other ones, Jane, and forgive me, I'm sorry.
That's all right, because we can put the information on the radio website, Lime Radio website.
Thank you so much for that.
We'll put your social media platforms on as well, because you're on Twitter and Instagram, aren't you?
Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn and Facebook, and I'm in the process of setting up my website, which should be finished very shortly.
Brilliant. I look forward to that one. So thank you. I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm looking forward to reading The Evil Genius.
I'm looking forward to feedback.
And best of luck with all your books and your future endeavours. But I think I'm going to trot off now and have a chat with my lovely dog Harvey. He always listens.
Oh, thank you, Jane. I've enjoyed that. Thank you.
Like Shirley, I used to talk to my toys, and I still talk to my dog. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could actually have meaningful conversations with our pets? I hope my conversation with Shirley today has highlighted the need for us all to be more aware of bullying. Encourage people, especially children, to speak up, not suffer in silence, and more importantly, to take action if we see someone being bullied. I'll be back again next Wednesday morning at 11:30 with another guest and another wellbeing topic. Until then, take care and think happy thoughts.